Hello folks, I'm John Myrie and welcome to the Wisconsin Northland Outdoors. On this week's show we have reports and tips for you from Jarrett McCarthy down at Hayward Bait and Bottle, and then we talk summer walleye fishing and trolling with Hayward area fishing guide Bill Kutka. Lots to cover on this week's show, all coming up right after these messages.
The fishing opener has come and gone. If you fished it from an old, inadequate boat, were stuck on shore, or worse yet, didn't go out at all, we can help. Hayward Power Sports has an awesome selection of new Lund boats, rigged and ready. You'll find the 1650 Angler, the 1775 Impact, the 1875 Crossover, and many more. We're offering massive Hayward Power Sports discounts up to $7,500, plus we'll throw in a free storage for next winter. Come see us at Hayward Power Sports, just 10 minutes east of Hayward on Highway 77.
Riding along in my automobile.
Bumping into things unexpectedly? Make your first choice for collision repair. Ernie's Auto Body, featuring the most advanced collision repair facility in northwest Wisconsin. With a state-of-the-art spray, bake down, draft paint booth for that better-than-new finish, laser technology for precision frame alignment, loaner cars available, computerized estimates, written guarantees, and documented unmatched customer service, the clear choice is Ernie's Auto Body, south of Hayward on Highway 63 and Nursery Road, where quality is no accident.
Big fish stories come to life at the Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame. The world's largest shrine to freshwater anglers boasts a 4.5-story tall walk-through muskie that's a half a city block long. It's like taking a peek into Granddad's old tackle box with thousands of mounted fish, antique outboard motors, and historical sport fishing artifacts. Stop in and take a chance on our 50-50 cash raffle. You could walk away with a pile of cash. See the big ones that didn't get away at the Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame, Highways 27 and B in Hayward. Open daily, including Sundays, through October 31st at 9:30 a.m. Lynn's Custom Meats and Catering welcomes you to stop by for their great lunch menu. And while you're there, Lynn's also has a great selection of custom-cut meats and sausages, as well as many varieties of snack sticks, jerky, fresh cheese curds, and much more. Lynn's is open Mondays through Fridays from 9 to 5:30 and 9 to 4 on Saturdays. Lynn's Custom Meats and Catering in Hayward.
Today, anglers fish longer. Today, anglers fish harder. Today, anglers rely more than ever on their electronics. It all comes down to catching more fish, and today, anglers rely on Amped Outdoors lithium batteries, period. Visit ampedoutdoors.com today to power your outdoor experience.
We're down at Hayward Bait and Bottle recording with Jarrett McCarthy out here. And Jarrett, you know, we talk about being in the summer all the time, in the summer dog days, but, you know, I think we're starting to reverse a little bit now. The water temperatures actually dropped over the last few days.
Dropping a little bit. I see some cooler temperatures on the horizon for us. Be a little bit nicer to be out on the boat. Not that it's not nice to be out on the boat at any point in time, but yeah, I see a lot of 70s coming up. I see some clouds. I see some rain, so that'll definitely start to cool off those surface temperatures out there.
Still a lot of food out there for the fish. Seeing a lot of bug hatches coming up off the bottom yet, and a lot of minnows, a lot of stuff for fish to eat out there besides your bait.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of bait. I've been seeing the same thing myself, but we got quite a bit of season left, and the fishing's been pretty good out there.
Let's talk about walleye first. You know, that's probably the slowest thing in the summertime, but still people want to fish for them.
Absolutely. You know, most guys that are out there, they're finding, you know, scattered fish. A lot of guys are trolling for them right now with crawler harnesses, Lindy rigs, crankbaits. You know, some guys run pointer boards to cover the most amount of area, but trolling is a good way to find them right now. There's still a little bit of a leech supply out there. Some guys are still getting them on slip bobbers. There'll always be some fish up in the weeds or what have you, but, you know, bite, you know, it's tried and true. It is a little slow right now.
Let's talk about muskies. I mean, the guys were really starting to get to the point where they were quitting muskie fishing because the water temperatures were over 80 degrees, but they cooled down a lot.
Yeah, they come down quite a few degrees over the last couple of days, just with those clouds and a little bit of rain. And yes, a lot of people had put the muskie poles down, which is a good thing because those water temps were getting up into the 80s or what have you.
Let's talk about panfish. That's one of the things that's really popular in the summertime. A lot of people are after the panfish. That bite for me has been up and down. It depends. Crappies have been probably the toughest out there, it seems like.
Yeah, I would agree. You know, you can go out there, and I see a lot of crappies on the graph or what have you, but it seems like a lot of them have been a little stubborn lately. You know, those fish are constantly on the move, so getting on top of them is first priority, and then trying to find something that they are interested in is another thing. A lot of guys are still fishing with minnows and slip-poppers out there. Summer is usually the time of plastics to go out and target crappies with. Some people are having some success out there, and we're seeing some nice pictures, so, you know, there's some people out there getting crappies. Bluegills, on the other hand, bluegill bite's been pretty good out there. A lot of fish are on those deeper weed lines. There's still some fish up shallow or what have you, but it's a lot of those littler fish. You know, live bait's been working really, really well for them. Some plastics in there, like your smaller 1-inch gulp minnows, but panfish bite's been okay.
And the crappies, I'm finding crappies out deeper, but not real deep yet. It seems like that, like on the Chippewa flowage, a lot of them in that 12 to 15, 16 foot range, not down into that 20, 24 foot.
Yep, and it depends on the lake that you're on. You know, you see some fish, you know, I mean, there's some lakes around here where those crappies are still sitting up in 8 to 12 feet of water. You know, we got some crappies that are sitting in those mid depths, and we still have those fish that are out roaming the basins, eating those bugs that are hatching or what have you. So it's all lake specific out there right now.
You hearing much at all on the northern pike? I mean, usually this is a good time to troll for the bigger pike.
Yep, absolutely. You know, hearing some guys out there that are trolling with them. A lot of guys getting the smaller ones up shallow, just casting whatever it is near them, spinnerbaits, spoons, or what have you. But a lot of those pike will start coming as people are starting to look for walleyes out in those deeper basins, you know, just kind of scattered out there. They're out there roaming those same places.
I know it's pretty busy in here Monday morning as we're talking. It seems like Mondays are really busy lately. A lot of people up here in the area. And I know there's quite a few people bass fishing, too.
Yep, a lot of people out there bass fishing. Bass fishing has been really good lately. Topwater bites really starting to get going right now. A lot of guys are throwing their Senkos. Some spinnerbait actions just starting up. So smallies and largemouth have both been very good lately. You know,
and for people that are on vacation up here and you want to just catch some fish, you know, stop by Hayward Bait here and have them show you, if you don't know how to rig it, like just a wacky worm setup. I mean, it'll catch both largemouth and smallmouth. That's easy. There's no wrong way to work it, and it catches fish.
Absolutely. There's a lot of really easy ways to go out there and catch bass that don't take a whole lot of, technique-specific things. So whatever it is you're looking for, stop on by and we'll get you going.
You know, you guys got about every kind of tackle that you could probably need. I know you've got some new lines in here, too, now for some of the braided lines. I know that Finn's braid is something new.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we just started carrying Finn's this year. It's American-made. It's a great brand out there, catching a lot of traction within the area or what have you, but we've also got your standbys. We got Suffolk and Power Pro, and, we got Cortland and what have you. So, yeah, got a little bit of everything for braid out there, whatever you're looking for.
You know, and on that topic right there, too, a little thing I found out, too, is that, you know, there's a lot of people that have bass tackle, but they really can't get big enough line, like 80-pound or 100-pound braid on those reels. That Finn's has that 40G line, which they've got it in 85 and 100. I believe the 100 is 12-pound diameter. I've got a 200 size reel that's got 85 pounds. It's got over 100 yards of line on it. So you can use those smaller format reels and get that heavier duty line on them.
Absolutely. That's what they make it for, you know. Guys that are looking to be multi-dimensional out on the water using bass tackle that can also double as some musky gear. So, yep, absolutely.
Yeah, so there's a lot of new interesting things out there, Jarrett, and I know it won't be long here. You're going to be starting thinking about the hunting stuff, too.
Yep, absolutely. You know, John's already got a slew of crossbows and regular archery products that are coming in that need some fine-tuning before the season gets going. So if you're looking to have anything done, now is the time to bring it in before the season really gets going.
You know, and we're talking only weeks now. You know, it's only weeks. We're not talking months. We're talking weeks, basically. A month and a half here, weeks to get to where the first season's open.
Yeah, I know. Yep, summer's going by fast, and she'll be fall here pretty quick, but we won't wish away the rest of the summer.
Well, Jarrett, I want to thank you for taking the time here, and anybody's looking for information or whatever they need for tackle, stop by and talk to Jarrett or one of the guys in here because they all go out fishing.
Sounds like a plan. Can't wait to see you.
Well, folks, you know, we need to take a break right now and hear from some of the fine sponsors that make this show possible every week. When we come back, we'll be talking summer fishing with pro angler and fishing guide Bill Kutka. So stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages. Hayward Bait and Bottle is your one-stop for the Hayward area's largest selection of rods, reels, lures, fishing electronics, boating supplies, and they've now expanded their selection of soft plastic bass and walleye baits. No matter what you're fishing for, at Hayward Bait and Bottle you'll find everything you'll need for a successful season, and while you're there, in their bottle shop you'll find a full selection of beer, wine, and liquor too. And also don't forget, now they carry Shoremaster docks, lifts, and accessories at Hayward Bait and Bottle.
The Hayward Lakes Visitors and Convention Bureau in Sawyer County, Wisconsin welcomes you to our Northwoods hometown. No matter the season, no matter the activity, you'll always be surrounded by our great outdoors. What more could you ask for in a vacation destination? Woods, waters, world-class events. Contact us for information on lodging, dining, attractions, events, trail conditions, and more. Order your free vacation guide and start planning your getaway today. Visit us at haywardlakes.com or call 1-800-724-2992.
Get out of your chair and into fresh air with a new Can-Am side-by-side or ATV from Hayward Power Sports. Hurry in for a very limited number of select 2023 side-by-sides that offer up to $3,500 in rebates, plus financing as low as 1.99% for 36 months. Meanwhile, our selection of 2024s is huge and offer rebates up to $1,000 and again, 1.99% financing for 36 months. If you enjoy the creature comforts, test drive an incredibly popular Can-Am Defender HD10 side-by-side. It comes standard with a full cab including heat and air conditioning. Looking for a value-priced machine? The Can-Am Defender XT HD7 features a winch, roof, front bumper, and full skid plate. With the $1,000 rebate, your price is just $15,399. Your new Can-Am side-by-side or ATV is waiting for you at Hayward Power Sports, just 10 minutes east of Hayward on Highway 77.
Certain restrictions apply, subject to credit approval. See your dealer for details. Always wear helmets, never drink and ride.
Welcome back to another segment of this week's Wisconsin Northland Outdoors, and this part of the show is brought to you by the Hayward Lakes Visitor and Convention Bureau. For more information on lodging and vacationing here in the Hayward Lakes area, check out their website at haywardlakes.com. Well, folks, you know when it comes to midsummer, walleye fishing usually slows up quite a bit. On this week's show, we've got some great summer walleye fishing tips for you from Walleye Tournament Pro and Fishing Guide Bill Kutka. Bill, good to have you on the show here again.
Hey, John. Always good to be back with you.
You know, we're getting into that dog days of summertime. You know, water temperatures are up there now. You know, walleye fishing, that gets tough right away when you start having all these bug hatches and stuff, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's getting tougher by the day, and you almost count the days to when it's going to start to reverse itself here.
Anyway, one of the ways it's productive, or one of the most productive ways of catching walleyes in the summertime is trolling. And a lot of people haven't tried it yet up here, but it's only been a few years that we could legally troll on every lake up here.
Yeah, I find trolling to be very effective, John. It's not one of my favorite to do with clients. You know, nothing beats a good jig and a bobber bite, but trolling is very effective.
You know, one of the ways we hear about all the time, and I'm starting to do a little bit more of it, and I know you do some, is pulling crawler harnesses out there.
Oh, I love. I'd prefer pulling a crawler harness over a crankbait. I don't know. I just love it. And I use probably 90% of my spinner rigs are with slow death hooks. Just love them. What
tips can you give people as far as rigging up? What do you use for a weight? I mean, there's a lot of different options out there.
You know, it depends, John. I mean, the bigger the weight, the deeper you go, faster. You know, I probably just settle into a sweet spot of 2 ounce, but I always have 1, 2, or 3 ounce weights in my boat, and having a good app like Precision Trolling or a chart that shows you what each weight would do at what speed is critical.
Isn't that old rule of thumb? I've always kind of played with it, and I'll use different weights too, but just a 1 ounce bead chain sinker ahead of a rig, it's 2 to 1 basically at 1 mile an hour. If you're at 1 mile an hour, you're 40 feet back, so it'll put you really close to 18 or 20 feet, isn't it?
Yeah, it gets you there. But I've got some charts that I actually share with my customers, or if I'm doing a seminar that, give me that speed variance from a 1, 2, or 3 ounce weight. Because, like I said, I want less line out, obviously. More line you have out there, the bigger the chance of getting the fish off, even even in trolling. I often tell people, don't pump that rod, and just let the rod work itself, and slowly reel that fish in, because, a lot of times, you'll net that fish and it pops off right in the net.
Well, one thing I started doing recently, too, at trolling, to really zero it in and dial it in, regardless of what I got on there for weight, is that turn around my live scope transducer and aim it to the back, and I can actually exactly see how deep my baits are running and adjust accordingly.
Oh, man, you just let out a secret, John. I'm just kidding you. Cavallas taught me that. He's a good friend of mine, Keith Cavallas, and we were actually out on Lake Erie last fall, and, where you don't have a chart or a book or, someone whispering in your ear to give you that exact depth, you should turn that, forward-facing sonar around, and it'll tell you exactly where you're at.
And speed-wise too. I mean, it's a slow type thing. I mean, I've always understood it's between a half a mile an hour and a max of maybe a mile and a half an hour. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. I'm probably, I guess if I had to guess, it'd be 0.8 to 1.2. That's kind of my sweet spot.
And that's easy to maintain. It's a little hard to do that if you're using a kicker motor or any of that stuff. But with the trolling motors we've got nowadays, I mean, I've got that Altera on the front of my boat, and I've got iPilot and iPilot Link, and I just tell it, put it in cruise control, aim at a direction, tell it to go that direction, and set that cruise control at whatever speed I want to go, and it'll keep going that direction until I correct the course.
Yep, and, the other thing I like to do a lot, John, whether I'm with crankbaits or harnesses in Hayward or out in Lake Erie, I do a lot of S-turning. I monitor what's going on. If you do an S-turn, obviously, if you take a right-hand turn into your S-turn, those baits off on the port side or left side are going to go faster as you go into that turn than as you sweep, into a left-hand turn. All those baits on the right side or starboard side are going to go faster. So, say you're trolling at 1 mile an hour and you're doing S-turns, those baits are going to be going faster or slower depending on which way you're turning, and say, hey, all of a sudden when you take a right-hand turn, my right side, boards are going, that means they want it a little bit slower, so don't be afraid to do that.
Well, yeah, and also as that slows down, it's going to decrease or increase the depth it's running, and if it speeds up, it's going to come up shallower. So you're not only varying the speed, you're varying the depth that it's running that up and down too some.
Oh yeah, and there's a lot of times I'll just throw that boat in neutral too, if I'm using a kicker motor in particular. But to your point, you're not only changing your direction, you're changing your depths.
It crawlers, what do you've got rigs available that have spinners, you got rigs that have just like a slow death hook, you got rigs that have floats on them. How do you determine what type of rig do you want to use out there?
It's just a pretty simple rule of thumb. I don't have a lot of variety in that. I'll kind of stay with just a good old slow death hook with a lighter spinner. I try to go as light as I can. I want motion out there. I want some vibration. But I don't really do a lot of floats and such. I just like I said, just, a good old, slow death hook with a, light prop, type, spinner.
Well, there were one place that I found that a rig with floats on it works really good. It seems to be in places like a Chippewa flowage where your weight is going to be running under, so you can feel when you're bumping bottom before you're snagging bottom.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I'm also not only on the Chip, but if you're on one of the Clearwater lakes, I do a lot of trolling over weeds. You get those weeds that are 14 to 20 foot. I'll clip just above those weeds too. So.
Well, and that brings up a good point, too. I have not tried this myself yet, but I've seen a lot of stuff online, and I know some people in Minnesota that do it. They're trolling a bullet weight with only maybe 2 feet to 3 feet of rig behind that, and they're pulling them right over the top through the top of the weeds, and that actually goes through the weeds. They're at top of them pretty good, I guess.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I first started doing that back in in my tournament days up in Little Bay de Noc, I would be over weed beds, and offshore didn't have the smaller trolling boards at the time, but I'd have the OR-12 out there, and I would have maybe 10 feet of line out behind the board, and you're just clipping right above those weeds.
Well, folks, we need to take yet another break and hear from even more of the fine sponsors that bring this show to you every week. When we come back, we'll have the second part of that talk we had with pro angler Bill Kutka. So stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages. Hey folks, come on over to Hayward Ace Hardware and check out the area's largest selection of firearms, ammo, and accessories. We carry top brands like Browning and Sig Sauer, and we have a great selection of the newest and hard-to-find models. We've got a large selection of ammo with more coming in daily. If you need a scope, we carry great brands like Leupold, Hawk, and EOTech, and we'll even mount it and bore-sight it for you too. We even sell suppressors and silencers. And don't forget to check out our Guns of the Week. Huge discounts on a variety of pistols, rifles, and shotguns that change every week. So stop on in to Hayward Ace Hardware, your firearms superstore. Hayward Ace Hardware, Highway 63 North in Hayward, or give us a call at 715-634-8700.
Hayward Animal Hospital is a full-service medical and surgical hospital featuring on-site laboratory, digital and dental x-ray, in-house pharmacy, and online store. Dr. Ostrander has 40 years of experience dealing with illnesses, injuries, surgery, and dentistry. Hayward Animal Hospital offers urgent care appointments and emergency surgery daily. Please call early in the day for these appointments. They open at 8 a.m. Hayward Animal Hospital is located 1 mile east of Hayward on Highway B. Call 715-634-8971.
Hey folks, the Log Cabin Store in Northwoods Beach on Highway K between the Big Lakes has groceries, ice, beer, liquor, and pop, and now has all new tackle and bait supplies. All current antiques and household items are now on sale, and all must go to make room for the sport shop. That's at the Log Cabin Store in Northwoods Beach between the Big Lakes.
If you'd like to have your time fishing be more enjoyable and productive, hiring a fishing guide can be a good investment. Whether it's learning more about fish patterns throughout the year, learning how to use your depth finder to find the best spots and fish, learn how to use that GPS to get the most out of it, or learn better boat control. A day on the water with a guide can really help you to be a better angler, as well as make a day on the lake very enjoyable. To book a guide trip this year or get more information, you can find us on the internet at www.wiscnorthlandoutdoors.com, and then just click on Area Guides.
Welcome back to the last segment of this week's Wisconsin Northland Outdoors. And folks, we're going to jump right back into the second part of that talk we had with pro angler and fishing guide Bill Kutka. And you mentioned boards, trolling boards or side planer boards. What's the advantage of that? I could see it on some of the shallower water. If you're trolling in 8, 10, 12 feet of water, I think sometimes those fish will go out from underneath the boat because of the noise. So you're catching them outside. That was the theory with when they first started using them for the trout, to get those fish that moved away from the boat.
Yeah, I use boards all the time. I mean, there's times I'll throw a 12-foot rod out with a 8.6 with I've even got 5-foot shorty trolling rods. I'll go without boards, but 95% of the time when I'm out there, I'm using trolling boards because it allows me to put more baits, spread out my baits, and especially if I'm in open water, and get them away from the boat, because a lot of those fish, when they're out there in that basin, especially on cloudier days or you get a little bit of a chop, they'll rise up in that column, and those fish will be in the top 5-10 foot of water sometimes. So you want to get your boards out where those fish are. And that's another thing to use your forward-facing sonar for, not only to turn it around and look at your weights, but get it off 90 degrees from the boat, or a little bit forward, and look in that top 20 foot of water and see what's going on. I do that a lot, especially on overcast and cloudy days, to see where those fish are. The ones that you see below the boat are one thing, but it's the ones you can't see with your graph that are off to the side that you want to determine where you place your baits.
Well, another thing I found kind of interesting too is if I'm trolling crankbaits, and a lot of times I'm trolling in water that's 8 feet, 10 feet deep, and quite a bit of snaggy stuff. The baits that are out there on the planer boards, you can close them up to the board and keep the baits up shallow if you want pretty easily. But the baits you're trolling behind the boat, you're maybe just coming out of the prop wash, so it might not be the best idea. There's a thing called a stern planer. You can put your bait behind that, say 6, 8, 10 feet, whatever you want, and put that 50, 100 feet behind the boat, and it works just like a planer board, but you're getting the bait away from the boat again.
Yeah, for sure. And, again, we're blessed to be able to use, multiple lines per license. So, it allows me to put more baits out there with the boards as well. I mean, out on Lake Erie, I'm trolling, here I'll troll probably up to 6, sometimes, 8, but usually 6. But when I'm out in Lake Erie trolling, I'm putting 8 or 10 boards out at a time when I'm out there trolling.
I know in some of our lakes here we're maxed out at 3 lines per boat, but no, we have lakes that we can troll multiple lines on too.
Yep. It gives you that advantage, right?
Yeah. When do you decide to go from the crawler harnesses to the crankbaits?
It's all the water temps. As the water temps warm up and the fish become more aggressive and the bug hatches, kind of subside a little bit. Water temps start getting in the 70s. I'm starting to pull. I still pull cranks right after opener too. But rule of thumb, water starts to get up in that upper 60s, into the 70s. I'm out there pulling cranks, and then as time goes, like now. The baits are starting to get bigger, the natural baits. So you want to mimic that. You want to pull a cheeseburger out there when they're eating cheese pizza. You want to try to mimic the type of forage that they're eating, not only in size but in the body style. So I'd say up in the upper 60s.
And it used to be hard. It used to be a lot of work to try to figure out how your baits are running depth. But now we have these apps out there, and there's Precision Trolling is one of them, but there's a couple others out there that literally will tell you pretty much within a foot or two where that bait's going to be running at a certain speed, and a lot of different, and it's for each different kind of bait.
Oh, for sure. I'm always talking in my boat. I'm always teaching, but that's one of the things I always tell people when we're trolling or if I'm at a seminar is, just because you see fish at 20 foot, don't put your bait at 20 foot. What's the clarity? What's the current? And get it a foot to 2 or 3 or sometimes even 4 feet higher than the fish that you're marking, because those fish will strike up.
Go out there. One tip I've got is to go out there and before you start trolling, drive through those areas and see where the bait fish are. Take a look at your sonar, your locators, and they'll kind of look for your bait fish. If the bait fish are at 18 feet, you want to be running at 15 or 16 feet, someplace in there probably.
Yep, for sure. And I wasn't trolling today, but we were running some open water, and I just kind of, teaching, if you will, how to attack some open water fish, and that's what we were looking at. We were looking at the bait piles, and then looking at how the fish are, acting, within those bait piles. Where are they staged?
We're talking pretty much walleye fishing right now, but trolling is effective if you want to look for bigger pike. It's effective at times for muskies. It's just an effective all-around presentation.
Oh, for sure. And, the other thing I try to teach when I'm out there is don't just always be watching your boards. Look at your graph, because I have found so many mid-lake humps or, differentiations and weed lines that I wasn't aware of. You're out there, you're spending time and you're trolling, and, use his eyes on, marking different spots. And as soon as you see something that's unique, mark it. And then come back and investigate it later.
Run your side imaging all the time when you're trolling. Well, Bill,
100%.
Good information there. You want to give out some guide information for people that want to get a hold of you?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you. They can reach me at any time at BillKutkaAngling.com is my website. It's got all my information. You can email me at bill@BillKutkaAngling.com, or I'm really responsive on my cell, 715-699-4833.
And I know you go out to Lake Erie later in the fall, too.
Yeah, I head out there this year about October 9th, and I'll be out there till December 3rd this year, guiding again for walleye and perch.
Well, Bill, thanks a lot for coming on here.
Always good to speak to you, John, and thanks again for everything you do for us.
Well, folks, we're about out of time for this week's show. I'd like to remind everyone out there that if you miss a show, go to our website at wnoradio.com. From there, you can link to our podcast site, and the show is also on Spotify and Google Podcasts every week. And also, if you're looking for information on vacationing and lodging here in the Hayward Lakes area, check out the Hayward Lakes Visitor and Convention Bureau website at haywardlakes.com. Thanks for listening, folks. We're out of time, and we'll be back again next week with another interesting show for you.
Listen with me, I'm gonna take you there to our Wisconsin outdoors, our Wisconsin outdoors.
This program has been produced and hosted entirely by Wisconsin Northland Outdoor Communications. Any and all views expressed are not necessarily those of the station.